Ravish Kumar, may I ask you to join us on stage, as well as the rector from ULB and rector from VUB, please, so we can honor you.
The Brussels University, Vrije Universiteit Brussels and Université Libre de Bruxelles, united in the Brussels University Alliance, have decided to jointly award the Difference Day honorary title for freedom of expression to Ravish Kumar for his vital and courageous contribution to the freedom of thinking, writing, and expression.
Safeguarded for posterity. Thank you very much. Mr. Kumar, the stage, the floor is yours.
Namaskar, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take longer. A very good evening to you all. Rectors, NMS cows, Jan Dankert, Difference Day organizers and their partners. I thank you all for conferring on me the Difference Day honorary title for freedom of expression. I am honored to be sharing this title with Jennifer Clement, who has been a vocal proponent of women's rights and safety of journalists. This award seeks to recognize the work of those who have stood up for freedom of the press and freedom of expression. As my great country celebrates its 75th year of freedom, I would like to exercise my freedom of expression today in your midst. Yesterday, while roaming the streets of your beautiful city, Brussels, I witnessed a most energetic May Day parade. It was a wonderful sight seeing protesters of all ages carrying placards and chanting slogans for workers' unity. But the most heartening moment was seeing a blue banner in that sea of red, a placard that demanded Julian Assange's freedom and spoke against his extradition. It struck me then that the fight for rights is also a fight for free speech and dissent. No fight, no struggle is possible without this freedom of dissent, this freedom to disagree with what we perceive to be wrong. But dissent is under attack today all over the world. Our institutions have failed to protect dissent and those who dissent. And not just institutions, but a new brand of family vigilantism has shaped itself to keep dissent at the social level under check. Those who are ahead in years want to monitor those younger to them. Surveillance today is not merely the prerogative of the state, but also of neighbors who surveil each other in the name of religion, in the name of what they eat. I see youngsters around me becoming critical of dissent. The space to critique is getting narrower within university spaces. Today, the act of dissent brings with it the torment of an isolation which ranges from political to the social. Dissent can be recognized only in one setup, and that is democracy. If you manage to eliminate democracy, then you will never feel the need for dissent either. From media to social media and a plethora of identification numbers, in India we call it Aadhaar card. The tools to erode democracy are many for those in power. A robust media ecosystem is essential for any functioning democracy. But today's media has become a tool in the hands of the state. If you are a farmer and are protesting against a state policy, then you might find yourself labeled a terrorist and your roads blocked with barbed wires and concrete slabs. Or you might find that your bank accounts have been frozen. These incidents have taken place in 2 different countries. There is an argument these days which is gaining around that dissent or disagreement with a state policy must be only expressed within the country and not abroad. Although, as I said, it's not an easy task anymore to express dissent in one's own country either. But going by this logic, no one should have an opinion on the war raging in your neighborhood as we speak. Let no one talk about Germany, which took shape under Hitler and which turned common people into supporters of mass murder. Can one not discuss that past in Belgium, a country invaded by Hitler's army? Should I instead take a flight to Munich and talk about Nazi Germany there? How can we possibly be limiting the concerns of democracy to geographical and political bounds? Back home, our Prime Minister says that democracy is not just a system, but a spirit. I personally don't subscribe to such a belief, but okay. Let's say we agree with it for a while. Can we then limit the spirit to a geographical, geopolitical boundary? Can you? Of course, the response towards the attacks on a democracy or any political setup has to be local. But the chatter must be global. Why not? However, I am quite clear regarding one thing. No government is interested in democracy anymore, anywhere. They might be democratic on paper, but they are simply concerned with business and they manage to do it pretty well, mostly. No contradictions there. Therefore, democracy is an issue of the people, for the people. It is the people in different countries who have to grapple with the idea of what they want in their democracies. World leaders have reduced themselves to just being leaders for themselves, even as they are divided into various categories. So then who is afraid of dissent? Who hates it? The first in line is the man who wants to pocket all the profits that he can. The man who wants to keep on widening the inequality gap so 90% of a country's population is at the mercy of subsidies and state support, recoined freebies these days. But the aim of these profit mongers is pretty simple. They want to keep the overwhelming population at the basic minimum of sustenance and be indebted to them for their generosity. Thereafter come the racist, casteist, and communal fanatics who ensure that something always keeps the people occupied and away from issues that actually concern them. The more poverty increases in society, the wider the gap in knowledge and information. The poor don't have good schools or access to reliable system of information. How will they participate in a democracy if they don't have this access? Effectively controlling the media ensures that the poor are kept ill-informed and those who can afford information are misinformed. This is why government policies across the world ensure that, contrary to their claims, poverty is not eradicated. Widening inequality gaps should, therefore, tell you that the gap in information is widening. The perils of democracy are different in rich and poor countries. There is no other way to put this. The poor are never treated as equal participants in a democracy, and there is only one way to ensure that this does not happen: by guaranteeing that alongside fair opportunities, access to information is affordable and reliable for all. Independent across the world, democracy is weakening. It has survived only for those who are in power and for their supporters. No more does it exist for those who are critical of authority. The job of journalists have thus become very challenging. The road to good journalism now passes through the valley of the shadow of the jail. Many journalists in India have had to serve jail time or have been booked in various cases. When Kashmir-based photojournalist Sana Irshad Mattu won the Pulitzer, she was not allowed to fly out of the country to receive it. No message of condolence was delivered by the state head when Danish Siddiqui, who had been vocal against COVID mismanagement by the government, was killed while being on assignment in Afghanistan. The late Pawan Jaiswal reported how a village school in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India was handing out salt and bread to the children as part of a flagship meal at school government program. A case was registered against him for maligning the image of state government. Generously enough, he was later cleared of all charges. Kerala's another state of India, Siddiq Kappan was going to cover a gruesome rape and murder case in Uttar Pradesh. When he was arrested en route, falsely accused of disrupting communal harmony, of being anti-state and money laundering, he spent 28 months in jail before the Supreme Court of India granted him bail, saying that raising one's voice for justice is no crime and that every person has the right to free expression. The press has played an integral role in shaping Indian democracy and in fighting for this freedom of expression. And today, the Indian press indeed has complete freedom. Today, it has the freedom of destroying democracy, of attacking the ideals of equality, of maligning love by spreading hatred, lies, and strangling the voice of opposition and protest. Our media today calls protesting farmers terrorists and critical voices an anti-national gang. It has no value for those constitutional values which have enabled its freedom of speech. World over, we are witnessing a very shrewd and deliberate criminalization of the media space. The media is willing to spew hate and bigotry at the beckoning of whoever is its political master. If the business fraternity indeed cares for democracy and its values, it has to seriously engage with what the media and its so-called tycoons are doing to democracy across nations. Imagine this. Users on Indian social media platforms ask whether we are witnessing criminals turned into journalists or if journalists are the criminals today. Given how they provoke one community against the other, recently, the owner of a news channel took an oath in front of the Prime Minister of India, promising that his channel will work to fulfill the PM's vision. So you see, information in the media ecosystem does not flow in the form of questions anymore, but in form of commands. The lines between party cadre and a journalist are blurred. So pathetic is the state of affairs in my own country that the Supreme Court of India has asked, in a specific case of media-driven hate speech, if TV anchors who spread hate have been taken off air. Journalism is not an institutional endeavor anymore. It now rests solely in the hands of the individual. Those who do serious reportage are out of jobs, underpaid, and even at the risk of personal safety. I thank those who dissent and continue to be critical of authority across the world. If at all the democratic spirit still exists somewhere, it is not in the propaganda machinery of a government, but in the hands of those lone, fearless individuals, many of whom are isolated within their own communities. We have to stand up for them. We have to stand with them. I think Jennifer will agree with me when I say that this honorary title is not a recognition of our work, but of many other journalists who do brilliant work, with far less resources and under far greater risk. It also acknowledges our audiences who have supported journalists like me and many others. Your applause, in all fairness, belongs with them. Before I take your leave today, I thank from this podium my fantastic partner, my wife, Noina, for her years of support and confidence in me, and my daughters who have been part of my journey all their lives. I also thank my colleague Brinda for translating this speech into English. As I speak before you today, I think of my dear mother, Ma, who had been battling for her life the last few weeks and passed away last night. It feels strange to be making this speech today, knowing that she is not sharing this world with me anymore. My mother was a good woman, a very brave woman. I believe she passed on some of her strength to me too, as only a mother could have. My siblings and I grew up watching a woman whose commitment and patience was unmatched. It is probably because of her that I am able to stand before you and speak today. Back home, we never call the mother by her name. Today, I want to take her name in your presence as I receive this honor. My mother, Yashoda Pandey. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.